Tonight I'm not going to share my whole story. It's around the place, other talks and online and things if you want to hear it. But I want to share a little bit that does pertain to this particular topic. I'll put up a funny photo, I like to describe it as. This is a photo of me when I was, 11 or 12, first day of high school, so grade 8. I don't know what my mum was doing with my haircut there. It's a Justin Bieber bowl cut before he made it popular about a decade later. And the reason I put this photo up is to prompt me telling a story. The first one is I was a good kid. I look pretty innocent, don't you think? I was an angel, apparently. That's what my mum always thought. I got an award at the end of primary school, and it was an award, it had a particular name. It was essentially a Christian Citizenship Award. So it was an award for sort of being the best Christian in my school, okay? Don't laugh, so I don't know, that was a bit too heavy. I wasn't the most humble kid in my school, but the reason I say that is it gives you context on the bell curve. I was at one sort of end, good Christian home, and it was also the year that I started to look at pornography. And for me, the way that happened was the old-fashioned way, you might call it. I was going through the drawers of an older person, and I found some magazines in his bottom drawer. And from there, I started to look at them. I would make frequent trips back to the magazines. You know, I can still remember the first day I saw it. I remember the feelings, the curiosity, the excitement, the sexual rush, the heart beating, the fear that my mum would catch me mainly, but also just a subtle guilt. There was something in me that told me I shouldn't be doing this, though no one had ever said don't look at naked women. And I can actually still remember those images from those magazines. I try not to, and while I'm here, I'm actually seeing them in my head. They're filed away. I don't want to see them, but they stay with me. And no one knew. I never had the opportunity to talk to anyone. No one ever gave me a talk like this. There was a natural curiosity, which is natural. It's good to be sexual. So anyway, life went on. We got the internet at some point, and the internet in my day was pretty slow. I make the joke that, you know, we would hit download, go have a game of cricket in the backyard, and you'd come back and the picture would just be finishing. So I thank God that we didn't have high-speed internet. Like, seriously, I make the point, you know, I can have a naked woman in my hand in 3 seconds flat. 3 seconds flat. I didn't have that sort of availability, and I'm really glad I didn't. But we live in an era that is just, we have this unfettered access to pornography. No one has ever been through this before, and I hear teachers and parents say things like, you know what, we went through this, we were teenagers once, but they weren't. Today's parents don't know what the average teenager is living in. They don't know the world that they're existing in, and they don't get that this is a game changer. But for me, internet speeds were slow. As the internet speeds increased, my porn habit increased. I was never badly hooked or anything like that, but I definitely had a habit, I believe. This is me. Hopefully you won't laugh quite as much at this one. This is me in year 12. I love the bum part, little McDonald's fringe going on. It was this American college boy sort of look. And that's me, 21, the day I graduated as a physio. And, you know, at this point in my life, I was still a good person. I hadn't, you know, made many bad negative choices, all right? I was travelling okay. I hadn't had sex, but my standards from that innocent boy that maybe didn't want to have sex till he got married had certainly been blurred through parties and alcohol and what have you. And at this point, I'm looking at porn. I'm dating a girl, and I'm at her house one day, and I'm on the computer, one of the old clunkers that was plugged into the wall, and you can't move it. I was on that computer, and one of my mates sent me an email, and it was titled, I was really into sport, it was titled something like, check out this sporting clip, and I go to check it out, and it wasn't a sporting clip, it was naked women doing stuff, and this pops up. Now, what was different this day is that my girlfriend was behind me. She leant over my shoulder, looked at who sent it to me, and she said, "That's just effing lovely." And she stormed out of the room. And I didn't know what to do at that point. It was the first time I'd been sprung. My mum maybe sort of caught me once, but this was the first definite crap. There's no getting out of this. My girlfriend's going to know that people send me porn. And my heart sank, not because I'd been sprung, but because I cared about this girl. I really did, and I knew that this was going to hurt her. I knew this was going to affect her. And I watched as she went outside, and I just remember seeing this tear roll down her cheek. And it was like this thing that I did in the dark had now come into the open. It was like this thing that I thought no one would ever know about. This thing that, wasn't ever going to affect anyone had sort of just gone, and I had a split second to make a decision, what do I do? So I went out and I spoke to my girlfriend, and I remember saying, I'm really sorry that you saw that. I'm sorry if that hurt you, and, I try not to look at it, but sometimes I do. No biggie. And I still remember her reaction. She said, don't even worry about it. All the boys look at porn. It doesn't bother me. And she was crying. And it bothered me. It bothered me because, she wanted me to view her as the most precious, beautiful thing in the world. I knew that. She was insecure. She'd get insecure when I was around other girls. She was insecure about how she looked, and I knew this was going to hurt her. And you know what it did, and I won't tell you too much, but I'm not saying it was just because of my actions, but in the following years, she had some real struggles in her life with her own identity and her health and what have you. And I certainly don't think I helped that, that's for sure. But nothing changed. Nothing changed for me. We never spoke about it ever again. Never had a single conversation that I recall. Life went on. And for me, I went into relationships. I found myself in a sexual relationship, and life was sort of just cruising along. It was sort of everything I'd wanted, do you know what I mean? The career I wanted and what have you. And I don't have the scope tonight to tell you the full story. I usually share about going on to a turning point in my life and marriage. But, I did have a turning point, and for me that was tied in with my faith and getting back into my faith. And I was convicted on how I was living. And I chose to repent. I chose to say to God in a big way, I'm sorry and I want to start again. And my life turned. It wasn't as dramatic as a 180, but there was a clear directional shift. And in that directional shift, my girlfriend and I stopped sleeping together. We broke up a couple of weeks later, which shocked me, shocked everyone. I think it shocked us because when we stopped having sex, I realised I was more in love with the sex than I was with the person. I realised, hey, this has blinded me, what I'm seeing here, this sexual stuff. And around that time, I got into all this good teaching on this topic, theology and some awesome audio CDs they were at the time, audio CDs on, talks about living life to the full and using our sexuality as a gift. And I made a pretty firm decision. It wasn't pretty firm, it was firm. I was never going to look at porn again. I got why. I was going this way and I wanted to go this way. I could see where my mind was going. I could see where my heart was going. I could see where my future was going, and I wanted something different. And so that was it. Cold turkey, stopped looking at porn. That's the end of the story. No. About a month later, I looked at porn again, and I was devastated. Because I'd tried really hard. I was used to trying hard and achieving, and I'd tried really hard, like really, really hard. I was really committed to never looking at it again, and I found myself looking at it. And I'm so glad I did from one point of view, because it taught me a couple of things. It taught me, firstly, that I wasn't free. All right? Freedom is the ability to choose yes or no, and I'd chosen not to look at porn, and yet I was looking at it. I wasn't free. Man, this idea of sexual freedom I had, it had been turned upside down. It's not about doing what you want. It's about being able to do what you want. And I wasn't able to do what I wanted. I was looking at porn when I'd chosen not to. And the second thing it taught me was, you know what? I actually needed help. And I wasn't engrossed in the way most porn users are these days, but I realised I needed help outside of myself. So I spoke to someone. I got sort of like counselling, mentoring, read books, listened to teachings, and I prayed. Because I believe I needed more than my own strength, and I'd tried in my own strength and I'd failed, and so I prayed heaps. And what happened was not this, cured sort of thing, but over the course of about probably 3 years, I'm guessing, my porn use got less and less. I still remember my first year free of porn and sharing that with some of my brothers, some of my mates, my Christian friends. And I stand here today as a man that's been married for a few years. Let's go with 7 years. My wife is in the audience. Been married for 7 years, and I haven't looked at porn for over 10 years. It was a decision I made before I met my wife. It was something I made for my wife, even though I'd never met her. I made it for her as a gift, so she would know when I got married I had eyes only for her, that this was a sexual gift for her. And it was a decision I made to honour my God, because I believe people are created to be loved and not used. And porn, I discovered, was all about using people. And so it was a really great time. It was a really great time in my life of growth. A great time in my life of looking toward Jesus and pleading for more help and asking God for the strength to be more like him.